Welcome to the Crowned Medium, where Her Highness Lorenda delivers intuitive clarity, messages from spirit, and tools to elevate your spiritual journey.
Todd, hello. How are you?
Fine. I've got two things going on here. I better.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine. I've got things going on here. I better.
You're gonna turn one of them down.
I'm fine. Okay. What did I do? I got to get that shut off.
Turn one of them down.
One moment. This is my phone, so I think I'm just going to shut that off completely. Well, no, I see it. Can you see me?
Yeah, but you're echoing.
I think I'm just going to. Okay, so I'll shut this.
Oh, he turned off the wrong one. Todd, come back on your phone. Turn off the computer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Crown Medium, where Mercury is retrograding so hard right now. I was just telling Todd that that of the 4 flights I was on since Friday, that 3 of them had delays. Here he comes.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, you had to have the volume turned down on your PC.
Okay, that was the problem.
Yeah,
And a boomer, so that's my excuse.
we'll go with that. It's fine. But you're an awesome boomer, so it's fine.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you.
You too. I'm really excited. I can't believe it's taken us this long to coordinate. I mean, you do live in a whole other country, so there's that.
Wisconsin, snowy, frigid Wisconsin right now. So that's why this was a good opportunity to try to do it. So.
Yeah. So now what's the weather like right now in Japan?
Well, it's not too bad. In Indiana, it's not too bad, right? I think it's very similar. I looked at both and it's warming up. I talked to Shingo and he's tuned in, I think. Right.
Hey, Shingo.
And he said it was warming up. So we're getting into spring. Believe it or not, in Wisconsin earlier last week, it was like 70 degrees. It was so warm. And then suddenly this huge, we were supposed to get between 5 and 28 inches.
Oh my gosh.
Closer to 5, but they canceled all the classes today. So my students were in the hotel, which they didn't mind that so much because they could get together with their host families and friends. Right. It worked out.
Right. That's good. That's good. I just realized I don't have Instagram pulled up. And of course my computer did a set. I'm going to have to talk amongst yourselves, friends. Oh my goodness. This is nuts.
What happened?
Oh, now it's like wanting me to go through the whole process of relogging. Well, we are not going to be on Instagram tonight.
Well, better you than me. I wouldn't know where to start. So,
well, I had it all lined up and I just realized, and I went to log in. My computer has completely reset. I had to log into everything again.
Oh no.
I know. It's awesome. It's not
retrograde.
It is. It's retrograding so hard right now. So anyone hoping to watch on, I pretty much share out the YouTube and that's about it. So anyway, so tonight.
Are the Facebook people on? Because
yeah, we have Facebook. Facebook's up, but it's just not Instagram because that's a separate link that I have to do. And it's wanting me to go through all we need an approval code and you need to sign in from your phone and you need to do all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was having trouble even getting on with the PC because everything is through Japan and I don't have my Japanese phone number.
Oh, right.
That's why I'm on my phone, but it looks okay, I think. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. You know what? And that's fine because we're less that we have to manage right now. It's okay. So tonight we did our séance back in September when you were here. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that was fantastic. I was going back and listening to, I only got to about 3/4 of the way through it before I got cut off. And I just kept thinking, I don't remember any of this stuff.
Oh, that's the same with me. And you were in trance. So I understand why you didn't remember it, but I couldn't remember some of the questions I was asking the Bang sisters. So it was good for me to kind of listen to it again as well to refresh my memory.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I think, and it's interesting to hear how I got cut off when she was talking about she couldn't disclose too much about, because Shingo had asked about future.
Yes, that's right.
And then about that time, I got kicked off when I was listening on the plane. It shut off. So I only got to parts like, well, how do I put this? I have to be careful about it. And then she's like, things are going to be different for a while, but it won't last as long as the last time. And I was like, the last time of what?
Right.
You know, "Ugh, okay. Thanks, May." So when all this happened, what were your initial thoughts? Like after we did the seance and I'm still coming out like, what was going through your mind? What did you?
Well, the one thing that stands out to me was when I asked her, "What do you think of the house?" And this was Lizzie actually at the beginning, and she said, "Well, you do realize that the house that we see is the house that we remember." And it never even occurred to me that she wouldn't see all the renovations and changes around the grounds. But it does make sense to me because it's sort of like a parallel universe that
Yeah.
they're just basically tapping into the vibration to come into our world momentarily, is if that makes sense. And then basically they are viewing it from their own perspective, which was how it looked when they were there. And I guess that makes sense because most of the time when spirits come through, they're dressed in the dress that they had on at the time instead of what is more modern. So
Right.
logically it makes sense, but I never even thought of it until she said that. She said, "Well, it looks the same to me because this is how I remember it." And that's when we pushed and said, "Well, it's been expanded and renovated and changed." And she was more interested in the energy, I think, of the place itself. Basically,
Right.
saying that even if the building wasn't there at all, it wouldn't matter because in their parallel universe, they still have the access to what it was when they were here.
Right. And I found it fascinating when she said, but looking through the medium and my eyes are closed.
Hmm.
So that to me was wild because she's like, looking through the medium, I can see that the house is gone next door. Like she brought that up. Um, and you hadn't told me, by the way, what all renovations had been done. I had no idea.
Well, I don't even know really. That's why I was trying to get information because I assume that the kitchen and the uh, bathroom and laundry room and hallway area was part of the original house because the ceiling's so much lower there. And
Right.
then stairs, and then they built on the rest later.
Right. Right.
I don't know how much was there and how much has been changed because that house caught fire at one time too, and that's why the star roof that I think I might have showed you that picture
Yeah.
um, is no longer there because when it was rebuilt, they did a normal, pitch roof. So I thought that, so I'm not really sure what it looked like when they were there. Because, see, gosh, in the early 1900s, a lot of the cottages on camp were just shanties.
Right.
Basically,
Well, because people didn't live there all year round by any means.
now, it
They,
started around that time, though, as people started to get plumbing and, um, sewer systems in, they started living there more year round. But in the early days, no, they were tents with just sometimes a wooden floor in a tent, sometimes not. And then the tents eventually got walls and roofs, and that's how it started. So they were very rustic.
right. It's truly, it was a campground.
Yes.
It was literally Camp Chesterfield.
That's what it was meant to be. It's like the old Methodist camp meetings, basically. That's what it was designed after.
I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, people would come and with their hay for their horses and wood for the fire, and basically camp during high season for 2 weeks usually was the season back then. Now the seasons last a lot longer, several months. But
Yeah. They met some of them. I know Reverend Glenda has talked about how in the wintertime she just turns her plumbing off. I'm like, girl, how do you? Because she lives elsewhere most of the time.
well,
But
we
in winter,
have ours completely winterized as well when we're not
yeah.
there. Because
Well, that makes sense. You live in another country, but yeah.
right, because it doesn't, it's not worth risking frozen pipes in those houses. So we keep
Mm-mm.
the precautions that we can when we're not there.
Right.
I liked also when she said that when they visit, it's the same as when they were there. So the changes aren't really noticeable to them. Um, and I was very appreciative that she was aware of the fact that I'm doing my best to preserve their paintings as a good custodian in the museum to make sure that they're preserved. So they are aware of that. So I was very happy that, and she seemed genuinely surprised that their precipitated paintings are still around.
I noticed that she was. You're right. She seemed genuinely surprised that they were in a museum, like being preserved. I mean, she was happy, but it's like it didn't occur to them that
That,
they'd still be around.
right. Right. And I also thought it was very interesting when they, when we asked the process of how the precipitated paintings came about. And she said, well, that was something we didn't really understand, but we would hold space for that. And then the spirits, with the help of the elementals, would come through and do the actual work. And she emphasized several times, we're not the artists, it's not our paintings. We were just the vehicle, the vessel that allowed the paintings to happen using their energy, probably ectoplasm and the elemental energy within the grounds to be.
Mhm. Yeah, that was wild. And how she was talking about, because you would ask if we could recreate them,
Mhm.
and she just seemed not non-committal, but
Well, she said it could happen, but also it's not because it was the house
right.
energy. And
Mhm.
if you hold the space, from what I understood, she said, if you hold the space, then it could be recreated, but you would need that kind of interwoven energy that comes through in order for it to happen. And I've got my own theories as to why we don't have those type of precipitated or physical manifestations like they did back in the day. One is, I think that just our lifestyles are just so busy. And so you have to realize that the mediums back then devoted their entire lives to mediumship. So
Right.
they did. They didn't have television, internet, Facebook, social media. They didn't have anything. Maybe a radio at one point. But so their devotion and dedication to mediumship was sitting in meditation probably for hours in a day. And they really were honing their gifts. And the other thing, too, is they didn't have processed food. And I really believe that processed food on a molecular or physiological level has really changed our bodies, not allowing us to be able to do that type of physical manifestations that they were able to do back in the day.
Yeah, I find that idea fascinating as well.
And they didn't have the bombarding of all the microwaves that we have. Just think about it. When we walk out the door, our auras are just bombarded with all sorts of invisible, unseen technological forces that has to do a number on our auric body, it can't help but do that.
Right. Right. It would make sense. Even just our phones that are attached to us at all times.
And who doesn't leave their house without their phone? My goodness.
It's like a panic point. Like if I leave, I'm like, oh, what do I do with it? But also there's a fear of actually losing it. And that's an expensive loss.
Of course, yes.
But yeah, I've often wondered that too, going just even starting way back when with the TVs, the microwaves, the radios.
Exactly. And I think that plays a part on a physiological level. And I think that's because oftentimes when people come to the museum, they will say, well, why can't we do these things today? And those are the three main things that I came up with that I think might impede people from being able to do those types of things. Because, I mean, back in the day, it was a lot more common. And you had the Campbell brothers, of course, at Lilydale, who did a very similar type of spiritual gift of precipitated paintings. But other than the Bangs sisters and Campbell brothers, I don't really know of very many other precipitated spirit artists like they were.
Mm-mm. Now I know that Hoyt Robinette does some sort of art.
He does cards.
He does cards. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I've not sat in a circle with him. I've heard he's fantastic.
A card from him many years ago. I sat in a circle, and Charlie Swan, who was a huge name at Camp Chesterfield and was a cousin to Clifford Bias, he actually did spirit photography, where he would take blank photographic paper, and they would go into the darkness. A person would open it up, and then they would take it and hold it against their solar plexus. And then he would come around and put his hands over their hands. And people said they would feel like a jolt come through them. And then when they put it through the chemicals, oftentimes some sort of image appeared on that card. And I think it was called scotography. And John Fetzer, who, I don't know if you ever saw the documentary that I was involved with, but he was the owner of the Detroit Tigers. And he was a student or client of Charlie Swan. And Charlie Swan was able to give him all kinds of very important ancestral information that allowed him to do some. Of course, today we have ancestry.com and
Right.
all those things, but back then in the 1940s, you didn't have that.
Mm-mm.
So he was able to give him a lot of really valuable information that allowed him to do some research about his family and was able to get photographs that way.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
We
I feel
the head,
watched your documentary. Say that again.
we have those in the head art gallery at Camp Chesterfield.
Okay.
Those are displayed.
Okay. I've been there a few times. I must not have.
It's in the back wall.
Okay.
There's a bunch of stuff back there, and unfortunately you probably missed it because there's just too much to look at. And that's something that was on our list of things to do, is to try to work on that part of the exhibit to try to get it. The East Gallery with the Francis McVeigh and all the religious paintings that were done by Chiolo, that were commissioned by Mabel Riffle, as well as the middle exhibition area. Those have all been done in such a way that you really do feel like you're in a museum and you can walk through it and have that museum experience. And the Art Gallery West, which is a lot of the physical phenomena in spirit art, we just have so much, and it gets a little crowded in there. But it's all very important, and people do enjoy perusing it and looking at it. So, yeah.
I know. I love going over there. The energy is just fantastic when I go into the art, into the museum.
You did a seance there, if I remember, too.
Yes. And I had a spirit like jolt through me, and it was wild. It was wild. Was not expecting it. And what's funny is I had just said,
Was it Donnie Keeler?
yes,
Okay, that's what I thought.
yes. And I had, because I had the noise canceling headphones on, but I always forget what that's called. But anyway, I said, coming, and all of a sudden all the lights went off, and I was like, who's here? I felt like I've been shocked because the spirit stepped into my body, but not in a trance mediumship way, because that I'd been like, oh, come on in.
Well, I wonder if Donnie Keeler came through because we had been doing so much work with Ghosts from the River with media about getting the film up and going, that he was around us a lot.
Right.
And that was his opportunity to try to come through, because that whole film is about him, basically.
Wow. Well, that day, I was doing I was doing like workshops and stuff going. They had like little classes going on, and I was taking one for dowsing rods. And so I'm walking around the museum. I'm like, all right, spirit, let's go. Let's talk. Let's communicate. I'm standing in front of the
Rose Carson,
but I'm trying to remember what I asked. Now I don't remember. I asked something, and I'm standing there thinking it was going to go towards that or one other, like one right in front of me. And the rods went like this.
Right over towards Donnie Keeler's painting.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Interesting.
Do you think you could explain a bit about precipitated art? Because I'm afraid some people on here might not be that much very familiar with the Bangs Sisters and the type of spiritual mediumship that they did.
Well, go right ahead.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Well, precipitated spirit art is where the gift of the medium, basically they manifest, that's the best word I can think of, a painting through spirit. So the human hands don't do the painting. It's all done by spirit. Now, we also have paintings by Francis McVeigh, and those were featured in the Minneapolis Museum of Art, or Institute of Art in Minneapolis. And she was inspired spirit artist. So she was inspired by spirit, but she painted with her own physical hands. So that's what makes the precipitated paintings so unusual. And they're beautiful. They're wonderful works of art.
Yeah.
There's a few things that are very different about them. One thing is that they don't have eyelashes. And that's kind of a mystery as to why all the paintings don't have eyelashes, but they're beautifully done. And it was reported, and I've never been able to find the documentation for this, but in the 70s, some of the older mediums said that one of the paintings was tested to see what the medium was of how it was painted. And the best thing they could come up with, and I think it was the University of Michigan, but again, there's no documentation for it. So I don't know what happened to it. It was lost in time. But the actual material was close, it was organic and was closest to the dust of butterfly wings. So that would tell me exactly what the Bang sisters said through you, is that it was the elementals, that they were really the ones that were doing the painting, that they would come up through the ground, Mother Earth, and then that's how they were able to create the paintings. And the Bang sisters gift became so well done that they could actually sit in broad daylight on the front porch of our house and have a painting appear, and people would be sitting in the yard in chairs, And they would say, oh, look, there's a nose. Can you see the eyes? Oh, the hair, and things like that. And because these are done by spirit, they change. So there's little tweaks that are done from time to time through probably the elementals, as Lizzie was explaining to us. And I do know that oftentimes students will look at the Rose Carson painting with the rose bush, and it's fun for them to count the roses. And then the next time they come back to camp and go to the museum, they recount the roses, and it's always a different number. So it's constantly
Evolving.
changing.
Yeah. And I think Lizzie even said that. It was either, I think it was Lizzie that said that they're, because the paintings were made with material like not
Organic
of this not of this world, not of this realm, I guess. And it's ever evolving and ever changing. It's a living, it's like living
art. Mm-hmm.
art. Okay, so we've got questions over here. First of all, Cheryl says, hello from Northwest Indy.
That's born?
Cheryl Ann, yes.
Yes. Greetings.
And,
thank you for tuning in.
Yep. And then Heavenly Host says, Hoyt also did spirit on silk fabric in the seance.
Yes, that's right. We have those in the museum as well.
And she says, we sat with Hoyt years ago and received faces of people in spirit, relatives, and our guides.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that? And then Rosemary, she says, saw those this weekend. They're amazing because Rosemary, I was telling you about Rosemary, my assistant. She was at camp this weekend taking classes. And then Heavenly Host says, I know. I was in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, judging. But listen, nobody gets mad when somebody hands you a microphone and says, give me your opinion for 3 days straight. We're going to pay you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, I know. Heavenly Host says, we also received many cards from Séance with Hoyt. I sat with Reverend Bill English years ago with his many trumpets up in the air.
How lucky is that? My goodness. I only heard about his seances. I've never, of course, experienced him. He was gone well before I started going to camp.
Yeah. We each received an apport. It came through the trumpet. That's wild.
Yes. Been to apport seances. Louise Irvin, she would have apport seances. So I do have some apports from her seances. But again, those types of phenomena aren't done much anymore because the energy and the type of dedication as a student of mediumship is so great that it really takes a lot of skill to be able to tap into your spirit guides and people to be able to manifest those types of things, and the ectoplasm.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, do you want to explain to people? Oh, somebody else said, okay, Edison, I'll get to your question here in a minute.
Edo-san is in Japan. I know him.
Oh, cool.
He took my place at the former university where I taught.
Oh, cool. He said, oh, I'll just tell you what he says. He says, hi, Todd. In what way is the painting created through spiritual media? Does the spirit guide a medium's hands? Oh, okay. I think so. How you explained it is it's not that it does that. What Lizzie explained is that it just appears.
Right. And see, when they first started doing this type of work, they had to sit in meditation for a long time, even over a few days, in order for a painting to manifest. And they would cover it. They would put 2 canvases together face to face and put it in the front window of the living room, cover it in black cloth, and each sit on each side holding one side of it. And they were able to somehow, the elementals or the energy from spirit would pull their energy out and be able to do that. Now, they did keep a basket of paints. And if you remember, we asked about that.
Yes.
That if the material wasn't the pastels and the paints that you had in the baskets, then why even have them there? And she said, well, just like a tarot reader needs cards, that's mostly for the person getting the reading than the actual tarot reader, because the tarot reader has intuited a lot of things and doesn't really need the cards. But because the expectation from the person who's receiving the reading is that it's important for them. So probably it was more, I think the term she used was more of a dog and pony show. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember when I re-listened to it. And
And
because she was like, this medium is funny, as she would say. I was like, I cracked her up somehow. My conscious mind, I felt like, was trying to slip in and out like a little FOMO, but I don't remember any of that. Which is funny. But I felt like they were pulling words from my data bank, if
well,
that makes sense.
I believe that, because your higher self was still aware of everything that was going on, even if your physical self wasn't aware. So it makes sense that they would use the vernacular that you would normally use, because they're going through you.
Yeah, I did notice when I re-listened that May, I think it was May that was talking about the tarot. I
Mhm.
say tarot, but she was saying tarot.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, oh, I don't know that I've ever said tarot in my life.
Well,
That's wild.
that's how they would have said it back then. Uh,
Okay.
that could very well could be.
The tarot. All right. So,
That's
and Edo-san says, P.S. I really need to get to your camp on a future trip in the States. Yes, it's a really cool place.
funny.
Nancy Dorland, hi Nancy, says, would they ask for a certain spirit to come through? Was it sometimes a person they had known?
You mean when they did the paintings?
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, the paintings, the 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 sitter would come to them who had someone in spirit. So no, the person sitting, the painting wasn't of them. It was of a loved one that they had lost. And oftentimes they would bring a picture in a sealed envelope that was placed in front of the paint or the canvases. And then when it was done, then it would be compared. I think there's only one painting in the museum, and we have how many paintings? 25 at least. And there's only one where a person in the living was featured in the painting. And it was a man whose wife and twin daughters had passed. And then when the painting came through, he was actually in the painting with them. And that was highly unusual, very unusual.
I think that was a really good testament to our spirits even though they're in spirit, they're still with us and we are still with you. So I mean that I could see that probably, and at that time was probably a really big revelation for people, especially in here, good old Indiana, and belief systems, or just belief systems in general back then. So I love that. And there was no Facebook for them to go pre-stalk. It's not like they could just go to a library and pull up
No, and that's
loved one and do the research.
today. Be very discerning, because there's so much information without even people that think they have no information on the internet. There's something out there on them, most likely. I mean, the algorithms and everything that are going on. So it's, people need to be more discerning today, because information is so easily accessible. And if you get a evidential message from a medium that only you know, that's never been publicized or ever put on the internet or anything, then that's confirmation, that's evidential. and,
Right. I
and
call that the non-Googleable stuff.
right, my first truly evidential message was from my mentor and teacher, Sarah Brown. And we were in a seance in my home in Indiana, but it was in Shelbyville. I had a little duplex and we were having a seance, and I was a newbie. I didn't know, this was my first seance. I didn't know much about any of this. And I don't know, she might have been in trance, but she said, this message is for you, Todd. It's your mother's mother. And I thought, okay, my mother's mother. I mean, at my age, my mother's mother would likely be in spirit, so no big deal there. And she's with a young girl named Evelyn, and they'd like to speak to you. And I said, I don't have an Evelyn in my family, Sarah. And she said, well, they're insisting this message is for you. And I said, well, I'm pretty up on my family tree and there's no Evelyn. And so she said, okay, we'll let them go. And she went on to the next person and continued the seance. Well, I asked my mother later, because she, of course, wanted to know, how did the seance go? And I said, well, she brought through your mother that she had a young girl with her named Evelyn. And my mother got really quiet. And she said, I had a half sister, Evelyn, who I never met, who died when she was a little girl. She had been jumping rope all day and complained of her side hurting. And she said, my mother thought it was just, she pulled a muscle. But then she got progressively sicker and sicker. So they called the country doctor and realized it was appendicitis. So they opened her up on the kitchen table, but it was too late. It had already burst. So she passed away. So there's a good example. I mean, if she'd said Mary or a name that is so common in most families from that time, but Evelyn is not that common of a name. And it's someone, I couldn't have given her any hints or any information because I sat there and denied it. I had never heard of that. So that was a part of my family history that I learned that I didn't know we had.
And that's, it's funny going down the mediumship slight rabbit hole is I'll tell my students often, just because a sitter doesn't understand something doesn't mean it's not valid. Just leave it with them and say, okay, cool, let's move on. Let's go a different direction. We'll let that go, but just kind of keep that in mind.
From that point on, I accept everything that's given to me. I worry about the details later.
I'm the same way. Because even if none of it's landing, I know that it could be a me problem or this is spirit showing off and I'm going to figure it out later.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely, because I learned my lesson because I would like to have had that conversation with them. And I, sent them away because I didn't recognize who Evelyn was.
Right. So, okay. So Heavenly Host says there is a real spirit precipitation art of a guide named Lily. That's my joy guide. It is in the seance room in Leroy, Illinois. It was in the seance room in the Crambaugh Spiritualist Church. I was blessed to sit in circle with Reverend Sarah Brown also, which is, Sarah, in Sedona, Arizona. I was ordained at Camp Chesterfield in 2000. So this is, I don't know who this is. Heavenly Host is her screen name.
I'm sure I started going to camp in the mid 90s. So and I started teaching right before that. So maybe I know this person. That would be nice. I wonder if that painting is a Bangs Sisters painting, the precipitated art that she's mentioning there. Because the other thing that Mae said was that there are some unknown art that's going to be coming to camp at some point. I think that was part of Shingo's question about the future, maybe.
I did get to that part. She was saying that that there's another painting coming from another country.
That's in someone's private collection. And when that person passes, someone will try to get it back to us. And of course, we will accept it. The Head Art Gallery and Museum will accept any Bang Sisters painting that's ever found in the future. That goes without saying, because we have the largest repository of precipitated art anywhere in the world. And that includes Lilydale. So we have, all the, I shouldn't say Lilydale's the biggest spiritualist camp, but we do have a really nice museum and we do have a wonderful collection. We have a lot of original Fox Sisters memorabilia and early spiritualism artifacts. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. You guys have worked really hard to get all that stuff together and
I
preserve it and take care of it.
Mabel Riffle was the one who really did it, but we're the ones that have been taking care of it for all these years since she passed in, I think, 60 or 61.
I really need to do a deep dive on and learn my Camp Chesterfield history, because I just kind of came in on the side into a Glenda class. And up until this year, I've never really done a deep dive.
Well, Glenda's a good teacher. She'll
Mhm.
catch you up or bring you up to snuff on all that. But yeah, I've been asked to do a really good just history of Camp Chesterfield class. And I said I would. It just has to be at a time when I have more time to really devote to getting all that information together, because it is a very rich and wonderful history. I mean, it's just something that most Hoosiers sadly don't even realize exists. I mean, all the history that's come through the gates at Camp Chesterfield.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it until I don't know, until Google was invented. And then I was looking for psychic something. I was doing some search for psychic things, and it kept coming up. I'm like, what is Camp Chesterfield? I don't even know what this is. And then I would find schedules. I don't remember. This would have been, gosh, early 2000s, mid 2000s, because my kids were little, and I was teaching a lot of dance, and I was like, I can't go 45 minutes to go to this place and take classes. And so I just never did it. And then COVID hits, and all of a sudden they're offering online.
Well, I grew up in Shelbyville, and I came across Camp Chesterfield through Sarah Brown, because she had a restaurant in my town called, and it was a hangout. And most people who move away from Shelbyville and go back, one of the things they have to do is to go to Cagney's. That's one of the things we always do. So on a trip home in the summer, a bunch of my friends, we were going to go out to lunch. So of course we were going to Cagney's. And when we arrived, we all sat at the table, and then someone said, "Oh, there's the famous psychic Sarah Brown. I wonder if she's doing readings." And I said, "Shelbyville has a psychic?" I had no idea. And so she came over to the table, and someone said, "Do you have time for any readings today?" And she said, "Well, I had a bus coming in from Cincinnati, but it just canceled. So I have an open slate." And again, synchronicity. So several of us said we'd like to have readings. And I had a reading, and then she invited me to come visit her home in Camp Chesterfield, which I did within a week or two. And yeah, from that, we grew a very deep and wonderful friendship. She was my mentor and teacher, and then ultimately my friend and a second mother to me. So I just adored her.
I love it. I've heard really good story. I like really good things about her, and a number of mediums there.
On the platform, she was from Savannah, so she had a Savannah accent, and so she would use that, naturally, because that was her accent when she would do readings. And she just had a wit and humor about her. And there's a story where she once was doing flame messages and set her Lee press-on nails on fire doing that. So I mean, she was funny, and I could just see her trying to come out. I'd been there, but I didn't see that. But I watched her do flame messages a lot.
That's
Type of precipitated spirit art. It's where you take a blank card and you have a really sooty candle, and you just wave the card over the candle as you're, giving messages. And then you look at the card, and miraculously, there's some sort of image on that card that you can give to someone who's in attendance at the church service. And oftentimes it's something that resonates with them. It could be an animal totem or a place they've been, something. So that's a very interesting. And I do flame messages from time to time, just privately with friends. I've never done it on platform, but
yeah. I've never done them, but I feel like
I think you'd be good at it.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm a Leo. Of course I would be great at it. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be great. I keep forgetting it exists. So Heavenly Host says she's Reverend Dolores Ponzetti.
Oh, yes.
So that's who's watching. She's tuning in. She said she lived in Illinois, moved to Arizona in 2002. Reverend Suzanne Greer and Reverend Pat Kennedy were her sponsors.
Okay.
Sat with Reverend Louise Irvine. Séance classes, so many wonderful mediums that I experienced. Yeah, you know what's funny is Reverend Louise comes to me a lot because she was Glenda's teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And I was sitting in Séance, or I was sitting in trance class one time. I was still early in my development, and all of a sudden I kept feeling like I could feel this person. And she's like, say it, say it, say it. Tell her it's me. Tell her it's me. And I'm like, you're obnoxious. I like it. But I'm like, I'm not going to say it out loud. Who am I to pretend? Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I looked at Glenda and I said, I think Reverend Louise is here. And she's like, of course she is. And so I tranced her.
Wow.
I had never seen a picture of her that I'm sure there was one in the museum, but I don't.
You never met her then?
I didn't.
Oh, she was lovely. She was a force to contend with. She loved camp and worked her whole professional career for the betterment of camp. And I was very lucky. She gave the prayer at Shingo and Mae's wedding.
Oh,
during the reception. She was very proud of the fact that we were the first official same-sex marriage to be done in the chapel. Now, other same-sex marriages were done before it was legal on the grounds, but ours was the first official in the chapel, and we'd been married officially in Iowa because it still wasn't legal in Indiana, but we had our church wedding, of course, at the Chapel of the Woods. And Louise, she wore a kimono. Reverend Linda Ritchie had come to visit us in Japan, and she bought Reverend Louise a kimono and brought it back. And it was so cute because the morning of the wedding, I went over because Juana is a wonderful caterer. I don't know if you knew that, but her daughter Juana could cater, and she was doing the after party catering for us in our house. So she wanted me to come over and check it out. And Reverend Louise was so cute. She said, Todd, can you come? I want to show you something. And so she opened up her bedroom door, and there was this beautiful kimono laying on the bed. And she said, now I want you to be honest with me. Would this be offensive to Shingo's family if I wore this to your wedding? And I said, Reverend Louise, this is probably the only time in your life that you could wear that and it not be offensive. Because we would, it's not appropriation or anything like that. And so she did. She wore that to our wedding.
aw.
Lovely in it.
I love that. Yeah, I was very honored to be able to bring her through that way, especially since I other than the funny stories that Glenda has shared about Reverend Louise.
Oh yeah.
I didn't really know anything about her when this took place, and then Glenda even said, she said, I know it was her. I could see her, and also you were moving like her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh.
I took a trance class with Glenda once, and of course, I was bringing through my guide, and she had no idea who my guide was or anything. And then suddenly she put her hands on my knees. She was sitting right in front of me, and she said, is your guide African? And I said, yes, she is. So she was able to see her transfigure onto my face.
Yeah, she's good. She's my trance teacher. Like
She's the best.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. So back to the seance thing. Speaking of trance, and
any other questions that people are asking?
I was just looking. Let's see. Oh, Rosemary was confirmed when we were talking about the messages coming back. She said that she's given messages to people that have come back 3 weeks later and been like, oh my gosh, okay, so this did happen. It does make sense. Brian Christ says, I was just thinking he wanted to learn more about flame messages today. He was thinking about that today. What's funny is you brought up Linda Ritchie, and I'm pretty sure she was doing flame messages on platform this weekend.
Well, she's really good. I mean, she does a really nice spirit art as well, where she paints and then folds it and then opens it up and then makes some sort of a picture, and she can bring that to a service and then find the person that it's intended for, that it resonates with.
Yeah. Meg Wolsifer does that too. And I keep one of her spirit art right here.
Oh yeah.
And I have a couple. I've got another one in my office upstairs as well.
Well, Dolores Ponzetti, she mentioned Suzanne Greer and Pat Kennedy, of course, two huge personalities on camp who did much for camp and were fabulous mediums. And, it's a natural attrition. We've lost a lot of really powerful mediums, but we have a lot of new ones coming up, which is even more exciting. That means it will continue on. And, COVID could have been the death knell to our camp, but thank God for the millennials and Gen Zers. They stepped right up to the plate and got us up on Zoom within a week, and we were having classes and healing sessions, and I will be forever grateful for those young people who knew what they were doing, because us older people would have just been sitting wringing our hands saying, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? But they were able to take the bull by the horns and actually do, and they were able to make sure camp stayed solvent and relevant during those dark times.
Yeah. That was perfect for me because I was able to jump in and start, and I was friends with Laura Dingledine.
Online classes.
Yeah.
Even though COVID was such a horrible thing, there was some positive that came out of it. It brought us up to the 21st century at camp, which was important. It should have been done a long time before that, but it forced us to do it. And we had the right people at the right time that knew what they were doing. So it was really perfect.
Yeah, it was wild how I even got involved in camp.
Mike Schlotterbeck, Michelle Euler, Rachel Smith, all those people knew exactly what to do, and they were able to bring it. Charles Clapadlo, Jeremy, he was able to step in there and help with those. See, the technology was advanced for me, so it was very hard to know what to do, as you learned tonight as we're trying to get this set up.
There's always a way to do it. But I remember, and Glenda will still tell you to this day that I'm the one that helped her set up Venmo.
Yep.
She's like, listen, you gotta do it.
I know what it is, but I don't know how to use it. We have PayPay in Japan, so we have different things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Different things. And well, now camp is on TikTok.
Oh, I love it. I've been watching TikToks. You and Shiloh are doing a great job with those. And I really like the interviews of the mediums, those little short vignettes that kind of give us an idea of who they are and what they're doing. So thank you. Keep that up.
Oh yeah, I'm trying. We're trying. And Rosemary's been a big help too. I know Rosemary was boots on the ground with Shiloh because I was in New York judging a dance competition. So I was like, all right, Rosemary, you're going to be there. Grab a microphone. You and Shiloh go wreak havoc. Mm-hmm. And so they got interviews with a number of people that will soon be coming. And yeah, I mean, anytime we can get up there, we're gonna people need to see faces. I think that's where we are now as a society, which is, it's amazing to me how people like the Bangs Sisters, other than like their art, and how in the world did people know they existed? Because now we are inundated with that information. Like you can do a background check on somebody at any given, at a given time. But like
when the fathers had their first rappings, it was just a matter of weeks before they were inundated with people. And that was all by word of mouth and maybe a newspaper article. So it's amazing how quickly things can go today in social media. I mean, it's almost instantaneous. So it is amazing how back in the day they were able to get information out. But I remember when they were first talking about getting a website at Camp Chesterfield, and some of the older mediums said, "We don't need a website. People who come here will come here because they need to, and they'll hear about it from however they need to hear about it." And the argument was, well, wouldn't a website assist at that? I mean, why should we deny that? But there were some people that were very hesitant about allowing that type of advertisement because we're not a missionary or evangelical type of religion, but making sure that people, I mean, I said we advertise in magazines, so it's a magazine, but it's in the ether, so it's the same thing. So
yeah, and now we're everywhere, and actually it's to the point where like Facebook has 10,000 followers now, and we've got and by no means am I like claiming that we're over 9,000 before I started working on it. And all of it's just growing. Go ahead.
Taylor was very instrumental in getting our first website up.
I love that. And that's that's honestly how I've started looking to see where the classes were. And that's how I knew. I'm so glad that it was there because I'm born and raised in Indiana. Looking for
me.
Hosted psychic parties when I was in my 20s and 30s. Like I was trying desperately to find places and I didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
And now here we are all this time later. Now I'm doing trance and seances on the grounds and
galas, platform messages.
Galas. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff. But little did I know, when I met Laura at my tap company and she was like, "Wait, you're a medium?" I just moved to Camp Chesterfield with my wife. That's how I got involved in Camp Chesterfield. It's crazy.
That's a good way to get involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know they've been very instrumental in doing a lot of things for camp as well, as far as bringing them up to speed and into the now times.
Entire inventory of our museum. We had an inventory, but she went through it and checked it and everything. So yeah, she was hugely important to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of people, many hands definitely have helped to continue Camp Chesterfield and keep it going and growing. But I love learning all these fun things. I'm glad I didn't know anything really about the Bangs Sisters. I purposely avoided knowing that once you mentioned, you're like, what if when I come back, you'd want to do a seance? I'm like, yeah. Okay. So now I definitely cannot look anything up. I don't want to have any kind of bias. I want it to be genuine.
Well, good luck trying to find information on them anyway, because there's not a lot out there. So
I wonder if there's any kind of oh gosh, when did they pass?
Oh gosh,
I got a book around here somewhere.
Well, I send you I did a monograph that
I've got it. I remember where it is
on them, and it was supposed to be printed and put in the Tree of Life. I'm not sure if it's available there, but it's I donated several monographs to camp that they could bind and put in the Tree of Life bookstore so that
I'm trying
teachers who are teaching classes on Camp Chesterfield might find it interesting as well.
Where is it? Well, I don't know what I do with it. It's somewhere around here. I've got the book. I don't have any of the monograph. I don't have any of those pictures, but Now I'm all tangled. My blanket's all tangled up in my chair. I'm a hot mess over here.
Calling it. Rachel Smith and I were trying to get that organized, and we called it the Sunflower Series. And there would be Terry Ryan wanted to do one. I think Vicky Corkell, Reverend Vicky Corkell, is planning to do at least one, and I had done three. So we would have our own collection of Camp Chesterfield generated monograph, like pamphlet type small books on different aspects of people and things of Camp Chesterfield, so that those would be available to students and to visitors.
I love that. I do love that. Okay, so Brian Christ says, two of the most memorable experiences I've had with Claire Aliens are the two Bangs Sisters videos. Interesting. The recent one where Lorenda channeled and the one where Reverend Todd did years ago. And he smelled flowers both times. Interesting.
Well, Claire Aliens is a very good example of Shingo, and I noticed that in our house. When we first moved in and got everything arranged, in the very front living room, in the center, we could smell a very strong floral fragrance. And I knew what the flower was, but I can't remember right now. But anyway, we didn't have any plug-ins or any type of deodorizers going or anything, but it was only in one particular spot. And I thought I know it was, I just lost it again. But anyway, the smell was
The gardenia.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly that gardenia smell. And it was only in one spot, like over here, nothing, over here, nothing, just right there. And I often thought it was the Bang sisters, giving us a little hat tip that they were there.
Yeah.
And when we were first moving in, I mean, basically we moved in and put everything in the very front of the house and left because we had other things to do. And I do remember the first night we slept in the house after doing that, we had all this chatter going on. And it was almost like a radio that's just off the station a little bit. It sounded garbled, but it was just kind of staticky. And it was just, I thought, okay, well, we've really upset the apple cart here. They're like, who are these yahoos moving in here and disrupting our energy here? But then as we got things arranged and settled, it was fine. But I do distinctly remember I was in the upstairs bedroom getting things arranged, and Shingo was downstairs putting together a bookshelf. And I heard him down there pounding. And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone run up the stairway. So I stuck my head out the door to look down the stairway. And right at that moment, Shingo came and he said, I just saw someone run up the stairway. And I said, well, I saw it too, but we don't know who it was. But I think you said it was George Anderson.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
He had lived there before,
Mm-hmm.
before us. And his wife was the medium, but after she passed, he stayed there, I think, and lived there. So he might have been very attached to the house. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
because don't we think he did a lot of work on that house? Like he had a lot of energy put into it, and he did a lot of things to it. So Heavenly Host says Lizzie Bangs died March 1920, which is interesting because it's March
19th?
Just she says March 1920.
March of 19th.
Mae died April 1917.
And Mae was younger, wasn't she?
That I don't remember.
Too. I can't remember that either. There's some interesting information about them because I was able to go into the newspaper archives, and in Chicago, there were quite a few articles about them.
Yeah, because they passed in Chicago is what she's saying. Fascinating stuff. And it was really hard because I wanted to learn more, but I also wanted to learn nothing going in because I wanted no subconscious preconceived ideas.
I do much better when I give readings to people I've never met before, because I always worry that there's a part of me that is hopeful on a certain level of something being that maybe not really coming directly from spirit. So I do much better like at Spirit Fest, where people just come up to my table and I've never seen them before, and I can sit down and do a spirit letter for them without having any type of preconceived idea or any inkling of what they're looking for, and see what comes through.
Right. Those are my favorite readings too, because it just means I have to fully trust and give way to spirit. And
Sarah always told me, give what you get, because it may not mean anything to you, and you're trying to logically figure out what it means, but immediately the other person might know. And that's so true. That was very good advice.
yeah, for sure. Um, well, Todd, I'm so glad that we got to do this. Say that again.
It's an hour already.
I know. I know.
More to talk about. We'll have to do it again.
I know. Well, we could talk for a little bit longer. What did you have more on your checklist of things?
Well, of course, I could talk about it forever and ever. I did, when I was reading through things today, though. The one thing that really struck me was Lizzie kept talking about the elemental spirits and had access to things that we don't, on the earth plane, and they could therefore create the art. And Mae and Lizzie didn't truly understand how it all happened until they were in spirit and transitioned themselves. I found that to be very telling and interesting. And of course, the tarot reading example that she gave, that stuck out to me as well, as we talked about that earlier, and how the elementals use their own materials, and the vibration of the surface was most important, and they just held the space. So from what she said, even if the house wasn't there, if you hold space and the energy is there, then the mediumship will come through.
Right. And wasn't she talking about the vortex?
Oh
Because
yeah,
it's so close to the house, and there was like that made it easier in that area because of the vortex of energy. And what's interesting,
Americans love the grounds. That's why they were originally on those grounds, because of the vortex and the Mother Earth energy and things. So it all makes sense.
well, and I think it was May that was talking about that, explaining the balance of the magic or a balance of the energy pulling that the Native Americans that were there, um, she called them the indigenous friends,
Mhm.
that had done work there in the ground, or they had gone there. And then there's something about being able to channel the energy from the like cloud to ground lightning, but
Mhm.
somehow balance the energy there, and that the work that they did is what's created that feeling of magic and the vortex and all the things that people feel, that vibration when they go. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Like again, things that had never occurred to me.
And even though this is an earthbound thing, I thought it was interesting that she said that she was thankful that Camp Chesterfield's giving spirit a voice, and that their legacy through their art is being preserved and conserved in the way it is, which normally, once you get into spirit, you don't care about those types of things. But she does recognize it, which I found to be very encouraging, and that she's appreciative of the fact that their work is being displayed and it is being well taken care of to the best of our abilities.
Well, and I think too, though, if you think about it, spirit, when they cross over, will say, well, you can't take it with you. So don't be so attached to things.
Mhm.
But if there's an energy, if those paintings are truly living, breathing art that crosses dimensions, that the energy crosses the dimensions, we are giving, it's not even about them when they were human. It's not about them. It's about, like you said, giving spirit a voice, or like they said, giving spirit a voice. And you're right. I when I re-listened to that part, I was like,
You probably never met Reverend Phyllis Harrison, did you? Yeah, she'd passed, but she did psychometry and she was very good at it. So you could bring an object. Like a friend of mine took in a pair of her mother's glasses and she just kind of touched them and put them up to her eyes. And then she said, "Who's Ethel?" And that was the name of her mother. So she was able to connect to the energy in those glasses to bring a message through for her. So psychometry is a very interesting medium as well.
I
And
agree. Yeah. People will often bring things when I do Spirit Fest. They'll try to hand me things. Like, here, what do you get from this? I'm like, it's pretty.
mm-hmm.
I don't do psychometry, but sometimes every time I say I don't do something, Spirit's like, hold my beer.
Oh.
And then I'll get information, but it doesn't come in the way that I thought it should come in when I touch something. So Spirit's just like, oh, good.
Yeah, once you go into an antique shop and pick up different objects and see what comes through.
Oh, I know. There was one time I was actually driving. This is a total detour on this conversation. I was driving home on 32, just trucking it home, right? And all of a sudden, I'm like, I have to go to that antique store right now. I'd never been to this place. I drive by it all the time. It was a Saturday. And I parked. I went in. I walked around this 3-story antique mall. I'm like, well, these are all cool things. I feel like this is all the kind of crap my grandma always had. Okay, cool. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. I was confused by this. And then I walked up to a phone, like an old phone. It's like one of those old bougie phones that has like the little prongs and then the
real heavy.
But it was like, it was the bougie style
Or something.
And I was like, there it is. I picked it up, went and paid for it, and I took it home. And it's been sitting on my desk ever since.
You just never know what you need. Spirit will guide you to it.
Yeah, it's like that phone needed to be someplace. It was wild. And I tried to tune into the energy. And it just showed me an old lady who was just like, I'm too good to die here. Like, yeah. That it's like the phone was the old lady and didn't want to stay in that place anymore. It was wild.
I gave it that. So
mm-hmm. So this was, I thought there was something else I was going to say. Then I don't remember. I've been traveling too much today. So I really do appreciate, I'm honored that you asked me to do the seance.
Honored you accepted the invitation, truly. Because we talked about it. I mean, we've had that house for 20 years and we talked about it and just never had done it. So it was perfect timing that you were interested in leading that and coming in and doing it. So I appreciate you doing that.
Oh, and I remember what else I was going to say. I had actually put that out into the universe, into manifesting. I talked about that in the video. It was either Lizzie or Mae was talking about that, how my spirit guide had told her about a class that my guide had us write in a book, and that I wanted to do this by a certain deadline. And then all of a sudden we had it on the books. Mm-hmm. And she thought that was cute.
Well, also Lizzie was following you around all day that day.
She was
excited at the prospect of coming through. Because I noticed that when they first came through, the idea of kind of manifesting through your physical body, that's something they'd never done. It seemed like that they'd ever been brought through trance mediumship. So the idea of that feeling of having that physical body seemed very exciting to them.
Yeah, that was really neat. And I do remember when they were making the transitions in, like just feeling that energetic shift.
Well, yeah, one would come in through the left and the other one would come in through the right, if I remember.
Yes, Lizzie was on my left, Mae was on my right.
Yes.
And it was funny because I remember just that energetic. Mae was more, how do I want to describe her energy?
More subdued, it seemed like.
She felt like she was the more mature one, even though she was younger.
Yeah, there was something like that. I do. Because we were surprised. I remember we discussed it afterwards because I was expecting May to be the real giddy, excited one, and it was actually Lizzie that kind of exhibited those traits.
Right. Yeah, that was interesting. It's not what I don't know what I expected, honestly. Where Lizzie felt closer in vibration. Mae felt closer in vibration to Lily, my joy guide, in attitude, I guess. But it's interesting, like listening, like when you were talking about how you saw somebody run up the stairs, or you heard all the noise.
Or Claire say,
and I'm convinced that is because they still exist, just in a different, literally in a different station.
mm-hmm.
They're still there. The old house is still there. It's just
the parallel universe. The vibration is different, and if we would be able to tap into that vibration, we might be able to see what they're seeing as well. So yeah, it's all very fascinating, and it's a wonderful opportunity for me to learn more about the Bangs sisters from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So I appreciate that you did that for us.
It was really fun. I would do it again.
Oh,
In a heartbeat.
I think it'll be a yearly thing once we come back each time. Let's just make it, an annual event.
I think it'd be fun.
And your student was there, Shingo, myself, you, and your student.
Oh, she was my student. She does take my classes occasionally, but she was just my friend visiting.
Oh, okay. And she was in Minneapolis, if I remember.
Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my friend Mandy. She's sat in enough of my classes to understand how to hold the space and to do that. But she's not like an active. Not like what I do, or what like my regular students do, where they do their homework and all the things. Mandy just shows up sometimes.
For a reading for me at Spirit Fest as well, if I remember. I think I was reading at Spirit Fest through one of my spirit letters.
Yes, you did. Yeah, she was very happy with that.
Well, I was happy to do it.
Yeah. So, all right. I'm going to go see my husband now. I haven't seen him really more than 5 minutes since Thursday.
We've got a busy day tomorrow. It's our closing ceremony. I'm heading out on Friday, but all day Wednesday we're in Madison, and Thursday we go to Minneapolis, and then off to Japan on Friday. So,
well, safe travels, and luckily Mercury retrograde is ending this weekend. So, and tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, as you can.
Well, you notice I didn't dress for that. I apologize, but
we'll let it slide.
Celebrated on Saturday. We had a St. Patrick's Day parade here, so the students got to experience a true shamrock parade, and they got things thrown at them, all kinds of Irish related goods that they were able to get. So they had a good time.
Oh, that's fun. I was judging. I got to go to no parades. My husband's like, you're going to go judge a dance competition on like St. Patrick's weekend? And it occurred to me, oh, I am.
Did New York City have their parade on Saturday, or will they wait till actually March 7th?
I don't know. I was in Rockford. Not
Oh,
yeah, Rockford.
mm,
Where was I? Yeah, Rockford. No.
I don't know. Rockaway,
No, I was in Rockford. I was like, where was I? Oh
Rock,
my gosh.
Illinois, to me.
That's it. Hold on, where was I? Why am I drawing a
You're tired.
Rochester.
Rochester,
Rochester. I was in
What,
Rochester.
Rochester.
I was in Rochester and they had their parade on Saturday.
Oh my goodness, because Rochester is very close to where the Hydesville cabin was, where the Fox sisters first heard the raps.
Yeah, I was hoping to explore. I actually took a really early flight in Friday. I was hoping to explore. Both of my flights got delayed. And then I didn't get in until 5:00 and I was judging by 6:30.
Wow.
So I had no time to see it at all.
Oh, that's too bad. But next time, definitely. It's worth seeing. The cottage isn't there anymore, but the foundation is. And they built a wonderful building around the foundation that you can walk around and look through the windows to see the foundation. The actual cottage was moved to Lilydale, and sadly, in the 1940s, it burned down. But they tried to preserve it and to the Camp Lilydale, but.
Yeah, I need to do a little pilgrimage up there, but I'll be in Long Island this coming weekend. So I'll be back in New York, just in Long Island. I got to get my Long Island accent on.
Stop at the Amityville Horror House and see what comes through there.
I think I'll be judging. It'll be the same thing. I'll be judging the entire weekend. So I go to cool places in theory. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. My assistant Rosemary and friend just reminded me I was in Rochester. She's like, it was Rochester, Lorenda. What would I do without her?
Well, Rockford, I know is in Illinois, but
I know.
I mean, why not? But Rochester. Well, listen, I'll let you go, but thank you very much. Go and spend time with your husband, have a cocktail, and we will be in touch. I'll see you on Facebook, and we'll plan our next seance for our next trip home, which I don't know when that'll be, but whenever it is, we'll definitely put that on the books.
Yeah, we'll definitely set aside.
For tuning in today. And if you should think of questions later on you have about the Bangs Sisters or Camp Chesterfield, by all means, drop us a line and we'll do our best to answer them for you.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. You can reach either one of us right here. You can even drop the questions right in the comments. This video, once it processes, will stick around forever and ever. Cheryl Ann says, this was lovely. Thank you. The detail about the analysis revealing something like butterfly dust is fascinating. Heavenly Host says, thank you. Please do this again. So yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you. I'm so glad it worked out. I always adore chatting with you and I really appreciate you. So, all right. Thank you everybody for tuning in to the Crowned Medium. I'll be back on Thursday morning. Probably just up to shenanigans and doing readings. So give me a follow, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you know where to find me. All right. Have a good night. Good night, everybody.
Thanks.
Your time in the realm of the Crowned Medium is cherished. Her Highness Lorenda Carr encourages you to like, subscribe, comment, and follow on all channels to stay updated on new episodes and offerings.